Hello again, gamers. Welcome back to the Board Game Captain. I'm the Captain,
And I'm Alex.
and today we're going to be reviewing and showing you how to play That Time You Killed Me, which is a game by Peter C. Hayward. I want to start by giving a big thank you to Pandasaurus, the company that published That Time You Killed Me, for giving us this review copy of That Time You Killed Me to play and have fun with and review. So big thank you, Pandasaurus. Before I get too into this review, I do want to say I've got a ton of links in the description down below that you can check out at your leisure. There's a link to BoardGameCaptain.com, which is a great hub for all things Board Game Captain. And we've started doing some semi-regular blog posts over there. And there's also a link to my Teespring store if you'd like to get yourself some Board Game Captain merch, t-shirts, mugs, etc. And there's a link to my Patreon if you're in a position to and would like to support the channel. Okay. That Time You Killed Me. This is a very unique game.
Yes. I can't think of any game quite like it.
It plays like an abstract strategy game, but this is highly thematic.
Yes.
So generally speaking, before playing this game, I would have thought of the concept of a very thematic abstract strategy game as an oxymoron. It would be a contradiction in terms, and yet that's what this is.
Yes, you're right.
It's about time travel and trying to murder the other time traveler. And it really feels like it. Like, it doesn't feel like you could put another theme on it. That's the theme that 100% fits with it.
And the backstory is fleshed out very well, and it's like it's like there's a whole, the theme is more than just the game.
For sure.
But it really feeds into it. It's interesting.
So, all right, to start with, it is listed as a two-player game for 15 to 30 minutes and ages 10 and up. Let's start there. Now, it is a two-player abstract strategy game, so I don't think there's a whole lot to talk about there. It's two-player.
Right.
What do you think on the estimate of ages 10 and up?
Ooh.
I think I might actually go a little higher with this.
Yeah, to get the full enjoyment out of it, I think a 10-year-old could play it, but I don't think they'd really get much out of it.
Well, considering the 10-year-old could probably play Module 1 by itself and maybe Module 2 by itself and Module 3. It's when it gets a little more advanced. But I mean, maybe? I'll say maybe. I'm going to say maybe.
12 I'd buy, 10.
10, yeah, well, I think because there's so many ways to play this game, and we're going to be talking about that and going over all the different ways to play this game, the module, like just playing the individuals, Module 1, Module 2, and Module 3 one at a time, I think would be okay for a 10-year-old. I think playing the advanced version of the game where you start to combine modules, which we're going to go over in the review portion, but I think the single modules would be okay for a 10-year-old.
Okay.
Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I think you can make it work.
So that's not bad, especially because what we're going to explain, this game has a ton of ways to play it.
Right.
How about the 15 to 30 minutes?
Yeah, I think it's about right.
That's a really good estimate, actually.
Yeah.
It's a nice. I like what they gave a range. I hate it when they don't. I hate when they just say
45.
Yeah. The 15 to 30 minutes is actually a pretty good range. I think. I think it's a pretty decent estimate. It can go longer, but I think it's a pretty good estimate. All right, so let's show what happens when you open up this box here. So first things first, when you open up this box, the first thing you see is this little note, and this is the beginning of the storylines of the game, which the storyline continues throughout the rulebook. We're going to talk about it a little bit. So it has this note that says, "To whom it may concern." If you open it up, it says, "Okay, you two, here's the deal. I'm writing this from the future. How is that possible? Well, one of you invented time travel. Take a moment, if you need, to let that sink in. One of you invented time travel. Congratulations! But here's the problem with time travel. Once you invent it, someone else can steal it, go back in time, give it to their former self, and claim that they invented time travel." Total zoot, isn't it? Pardon my language. Oh, that might not make sense to you yet. Zoot is a swear word in the future. A pretty bad one. It means, well, you'll find out if you live long enough. So the good news, one of you invented time travel. The bad news, one of you goes back in time to murder the other and steal it. I know, right? You probably thought you were such good friends. You know the saying, everyone's your friend until you invent time travel. Right. Well, you definitely don't know that saying yet, but it's very common here, specifically because of you two. So which of you invented time travel and who stole it? That's the thing with time travel. Working out exactly what happened can get a little messy. It's going to take a while to figure it out. There will be elephants involved. Zoot, I'm getting ahead of myself. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to replay exactly what happened, but changing the past affects the future, and when time travel is involved, that can, in turn, change the past. So we'll have to replay it again and again, and maybe a few more times after that, until we work out the truth, or at least as close to the truth as we're ever going to get. Are you ready to work out which one of you is the murderous, invention-stealing sard head? Good luck. Well, good luck to one of you. The other one of you can sard off. Sincerely, your best friend, or worst enemy, depending on which one of you is reading this. I love this little note. This is hilarious.
Yeah, it really sets the mood for the whole rule book and everything else.
You've got a little Pandasaurus catalog. I like that some companies still have catalogs for their games, because even though everything is online, this is very nostalgic for me. And then you've got the rulebook. Now, the rulebook has tons of those little storyline asides to it. It's full color, beautifully done, very well written, and easy to understand. The first section of the rulebook tells you how to play the basic game with lots of the little asides from the person who wrote you the note. And then there are several sections that tell you how to play the modules. So to play the first part of the game, the part we're going to be showing you in the tutorial portion, you need the first and second section of the rulebook. And then they're fairly clearly delineated. Before you go on to Module 2, it says stop. And then once you want to do Module 2, it's got the rules for that Module 2 as well. It has 3 separate boards for the 3 time periods. You'll see this when we're out. You have the basic pawns, which are really cool looking. Actually, they're all meant to look like they're broken, but with like a some kind of polyhedral sticking out of them. Let me show
futuristic pawn that got smashed.
Yeah, got broken up. Yeah. Kind of cool looking. They have them in black and white. You also have these tokens here to show what area you are influencing in the time stream. And then you have the modules. There are 4 modules, the modules 1 through 4, which we're going to talk about later. And each one has separate sets of pieces in them, as well as quick reference cards for the rules of that module. So like Module 1, which is the one we're going to be showing you while we're playing, has seeds, shrubs, and trees, as well as the cards that explain how to work it. We're going to be talking more about that later, but I think we're going to zip right ahead and show you how this game actually plays, at least for the Module 1. Here's a nice tree to see. I'm going to throw a shrub as well, but you'll see more of these out on the table. Anything you want to talk about in regard to the components?
They're really well done. The trees and the shrubs look good. When you get further on in the game, the components actually they're pretty spectacular. They did a really good job designing this game. But you'll see, it gets wacky.
So, all right, we're going to head over to the table. We're going to show you how to play Module 1. Then we're going to come back and we're going to talk about all the other modules, and then we're going to rate it and review it. Okay, so here we are set up to play a game of That Time You Killed Me. And again, we are playing the first module in That Time You Killed Me. The way you set up to start with for any module is you set up the past, present, and future boards in the middle of the table. Black sets up in the 16 space with one of their pieces in each time, and white sets up in the 1 space in each time period. You take your 4 extra pieces and place them next to the board, and then whoever's going first will place their focus token in the past, while whoever's going second will place their focus token in the future. And then you're ready to play. Now, there is extra setup for each of the modules. In regard to the first module for this game, the extra setup is that you place a supply of trees, shrubs, and seeds next to the board, because this adds in an extra mechanic where you can grow plants. So what happens is there's an extra action in the first module to plant a seed. There's also an action to remove a seed. When planting a seed, you will grow a shrub in the next time period if the same space in that time period is open, and a tree in the next time period after that if that space is open. But we'll further explain that as we take those actions. So now we're going to take turns taking 2 actions each. You have to take your actions with one of your pawns in the time period that your focus token is currently on. And then once you have taken your 2 actions, you can move your focus token to another time period. It has to be a different one from the one it was currently on, telegraphing where you're planning to take your next 2 actions. You play until on your turn your opponent does not have any pawns in 2 of the 3 time periods. When that happens, you have won the game. The primary way to kill opponent's pawns is to push them into an immovable object, like the wall around each board, or into a shrub. A shrub is an immovable object. Trees can be pushed over to be knocked onto pawns to crush them, or once they're knocked over, flat on the board, they become immovable and can be pushed into. You can have a pawn pushed into that tree to kill it. Also, if you are able to push time-traveling pawns into another time-traveling pawn of the same color, it will cause a paradox and they will kill each other. But we're going to show all that as we're playing. We've got Alex set up to go first. So Alex, why don't you take your first turn?
Okay, I'm set up over here. My focus is in the past. So I'm going to move my pawn up 1. And then for my second action, I'm going to plant a seed in this spot here.
So now that will grow a shrub.
So a shrub then moves forward in time, which then grows even more to become a tree.
Indeed. All right.
Now I must move my focus. I'm going to go from the past into the future.
So now an important thing to note is that you are allowed to really think about what it is you want to do on your turn and kind of work through a couple possibilities before deciding. But once you move your focus token, you're done. So since Alex has moved his focus token, I know it is my turn. Now I am set up here with my pawn here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this pawn and I'm going to move 1 space to the left, followed by I'm going to jump backwards in time. So doing a time travel backwards in time means I move to the same spot backwards in time, but then put a new piece where I used to be in the future, because that is me having now aged forward. So now I have 2 pawns on the center board there. Then I am going to move my focus token to the present.
All right, now that I'm in the future for my focus, I am also going to travel back in time.
Got to move first, though.
I'm going to move forward here, which then brings me back here.
Okay.
Creating a copy.
Ooh. There. Well, there we go. Interesting. All right, so...
and then I have to move my focus.
Yes, indeed.
And I believe I am also going to go into the present here, just because that seems to be where the action is going to happen in a very near future.
Indeed. I'm going to move this piece forward there, and then I'm going to move 1 to the left there, and then I am going to move to the past with my focus token.
All right. I'm going to move. So this shrub is currently...
It's immobile.
Immobile.
Yes, indeed.
So I'm going to move here.
Okay.
I'm going to create a copy and go back in time here.
Oh.
And I'm going to have 2 there and 2 there.
And then where is your focus going to?
And then I think...
There's a lot of duplicates of you in this time stream.
There is. I have many, many, many of me. So many.
Oh, you gotta be careful not to get caught in a paradox.
I do, which is why I'm going to move to the past as well, because that's, I think, where I am most vulnerable.
In the past, I'm going to move 1 space towards my opponent's side of the board, and I'm going to plant a seed here. So that will grow a shrub there and a tree there in the future time periods. And then I'm going to move my focus token to the present.
Ooh. All right. My focus is in the past here. I'm going to move this guy, 1, 2. That'll be my 2 actions.
Okay.
And then I'm going to go into the future.
So now my focus is in the present, and I'm going to start by time traveling. Now I'm going to time travel to the future, which we haven't shown yet. Time traveling to the future does the very similar to time traveling in the past, except you don't replace yourself, because of course you're not putting a version of yourself in the past that's going to age up to the future. You're just jumping forward to the future. Now when you do this, even though my focus token is in the present, the version of myself in the future is the one I've chosen to activate. He still has another action to do, and he can do that action in the future. And I'm going to push into this tree, knocking it down on my opponent and crushing his meeple. Now, what that means is I get to capture it. Now, I have removed the only version of my opponent that was in the future, trickily. I did that time jump to do it, and that is going to be it for my turn. Now, I can, in fact, now move my focus token to the future if I so choose to, even though I just partially moved a die in the future, because again, it has to move to a different space than it was currently on, and it was currently on the present. But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to actually be moving it to the past.
Which creates a unique situation, or an interesting situation, in that now my focus is on the future. I have no pieces in the future, so the only move I can now do is move my focus.
That's right. You basically miss a turn if your opponent tricks you into such a situation. Now, the reason I moved into the past is mainly due to the fact that I'm a little worried here about the fact that I have a position where if I had allowed Alex to move in the past before me, he could have easily crushed my meeple, my little pawn, into the wall here, and I want to get away from that. So this was 100% a defensive move that I was doing, and there's really only one nice defensive move I can make to keep myself from being killed, and that is a double move to the left, because there Alex will not be able to use his two moves to crush me. Then I am going to move my focus to the future.
All right, so in the past here, I'm going to plant a seed.
Oh, another tree growing, huh?
Here.
Okay, so we're going to have a new shrub and a new tree, because all of those spots are in fact open. And that's only your first action.
And I'm going to move into that spot.
Yes, so seeds do not take up places to block movement for pawns. If you have a seed in a future time area, like if you planted a seed here to have a shrub grow in the future, the only thing it would block is the growing of a shrub in that spot. Seeds block the growing of a shrub or a tree. That's the only thing they block.
No, I can only move to one place, my focus here, because if I put my focus there, it's useless.
Indeed, indeed.
So I will move to the present.
That is definitely correct. I would agree with your assessment. I'm going to move this pawn over here, and then I'm going to move my control back to the past.
All right, so I'm going to use my pawn in the present here. I'm going to move one over and travel into the future.
Oh, interesting.
And then I'm going to move my focus to the past.
Okay. Well, I am going to activate in the past, and I'm going to move 2 spaces to crush Alex's pawn into the corner there. I have now captured 2 of his pawns, and then I am going to move my control to the future.
Use my first action to remove the seed.
Ooh, so now that will remove the shrub and the tree that grew from that seed.
And then my second action will be to travel forward.
Okay, so where is
moving my focus to there?
Oh God, very clever. So you are in a position where you're going to be able to kill my pawn, and I cannot stop you.
Unless you travel backwards and do something, but
yeah,
it's not going to be the best thing.
No. Indeed, I agree. It will not be the best thing. So I am going to move this piece twice, and then I am going to move my control to the past.
Well, I'm obviously going to move 1, 2.
There you go.
Capturing your pawn.
Clean capture.
And moving my focus to the future.
And that's obviously a defensive move because you don't want me to crush you. Correct. So now I'm in the past. I'm going to plant a seed here in the corner, growing a shrub here in the corner, and then growing a tree here in the corner as my first action. And then as my second action, I'm simply going to remove this seed here, which removes this shrub here and this tree there. And then I will move my control to the future.
So I will travel backwards in time.
And that repopulates you in the future.
And then I go backwards one more, which repopulates me in the present. And then I move my focus to the past.
Interesting. Interesting indeed. But now Alex has run out of pawns on his side of the board, which means that he can no longer travel to the past, which is a very important thing to note. But keeping in mind, right now, he controls the present. I have no pawns in the present, and he is positioned to kill my pawn in the past. Doing so would win him the game. However, I'm not going to let it go down like that. I'm going to take a pawn of mine here in the future, who is going to jump back to the present for his first move, and in his second move, he's going to crush Alex into the shrub. Haha! Death by shrubbery. After which, I am going to move my control to the present, and I have made it that I am not able to be wiped out from the timeline on Alex's turn.
In my move in the past, I'm going to move twice. 1, 2, capturing that pawn, and moving my focus also to the present.
In the present, I am going to jump backwards in time, repopulating myself here and crushing Alex against that same wall over there in the corner. Now making it that Alex can definitely not control the past. The past is my domain. And then I'm going to move my my control piece to the future.
I'm going to move here and travel into the future.
Oh, interesting, interesting.
Moving my focus to the future.
But I think you have made a grave tactical error because captured. Captured. That is game.
Nice.
So there you go. That is how you play the first module of That Time You Killed Me. I have now won because I control the future and the past. You end by controlling 2 of the 3 time periods in the time stream. And that is it. That is how you play the first module of That Time You Killed Me. Of course, there are 2 other complete modules, plus the 4th module, which describes how to combine the modules as well as to combine the achievement cards, which we're going to talk about in the final portion of this video, which is, in my opinion, very exciting. So stay tuned for that. And so let's head back over to the table. We're going to talk about how this game plays and feels and talk about all the extra content in this game. And we're going to rate it and review it. Welcome back. So that was how you play a game of That Time You Killed Me.
Yes.
Okay. Alex, do you have any negatives for That Time You Killed Me?
No.
Me neither.
There's not a single bad part of this game. It's cheeky. It's silly. It's really creative and well thought out. And
it's incredibly strategic and tactical.
And it's a great amount of fun to play.
So, all right. So we showed you Module 1. Module 1. Let me go back to Module 1 here. Okay. Module 1 is called Growth. Here we are for Chapter 1, Growth. Now, once you get past Chapter 1, Growth, there are a bunch of other modules. So Chapter 2 is Influence, where you have statues that you can carve, and then the statues will appear in the further time periods. You can push them around, pull them around, crush people with them. If you move one, the future time period one moves in the same direction, so you can use that to crush people.
Which is awesome.
It's super good.
Right.
Then there's Module 3, which has elephants that you can train and try to, once you've trained them, you can control them to stampede and trample people.
Right.
Which if you train them, they remain trained by you in the future time periods, but then your opponent can retrain them.
Right. They can be untrained and retrained, right.
And so now each of these is an individual module, and each of these feels like its own game.
They very much are, right.
Like, this feels like a family of games.
Right, yeah. It's like 3 or 4 games that play by the same rules, is really what it seems like, yeah.
I'd say more than that, because once you get into the combinations, because Module 4 is where it goes nuts. Module 4 is Convergence.
Right.
So in Module 4, you shuffle up the 3 cards for the other modules, and you pick 2 of them at random. And then they can all, so basically that right there means you have 3 more games. So you've got the 3 basic games, and then you've got 3 more games based on the combinations.
Right.
But then there's more, right? There's still even more content because there's the achievements.
Which then varies how any of those other games play.
So the achievements are crazy. I'm going to pull a little of that out. We're not going too deep into the other modules because we don't want to spoil it all for you, but we want to give you an idea.
Part of the fun is the surprise of this, because it builds upon itself, so we're not going to get too far ahead of you, but there's a lot of cool stuff in here.
This is amazing. Yeah. Look at these. So you get these achievement things, and they say things like, I'll give you some examples. Murder 2 opponents with a paradox, and then you get to open this pack, and it has a bunch of cards with new rules on them. Right. And then when you open these up, so here's another one that says complete. This one is complete all the other achievements. So this is automatically going to be your last one. Right. There's one here: win a game where you control 3 elephants and your opponent controls none at the end of the game. And again, you get to open this pack. So once you open these packs, before playing a game, after you've started opening the packs, is you pick a pack, and you either decide if you and your opponent are going to pick one card to add a new new rule or set of rules to the game, and you'll both agree to play by that. Or the way I like it better is you each draft an asymmetrical player power by each drafting one of the cards for yourself.
Right.
That's amazing. Yeah. And there's some really crazy cool new abilities in here.
Yeah. And so effectively the game, you can never play, you could, if you wanted to, play this game 20, 30, 40 times and never play the same game twice.
Yeah.
And
way more.
And we've played the same game twice. A number of times.
We've
played the same game a number of times, and it's still very different, and it doesn't get boring. So, like, it's almost like an embarrassment of riches because they didn't need they didn't need to add all that variability into it to make it a good game. It was a fantastic game anyway.
Yes.
And then it's just all these like leveling up things that you get with the achievements, and it just keeps going. And you could play this. You could play this 100 times. And not even come close to playing the same thing twice.
Yeah, and as you play, the excitement of being like, oh, like because we're not cheating. We've unlocked I think about 4 of the packs already.
Right.
For the achievements. But as we unlock them, every time we unlock them, we spend like 15 minutes looking at all the cards. Right. We're like, oh my god, that's so cool. Right. Like I can't wait to draft this card.
Yeah, I want to do this. I want to do this.
All right, so to start with, you've got, like we said, it's like a family of games in here.
Yeah.
So you've got Module 1, which is growth.
Growth, right. Which is obvious. Tree, shrub, or I'm sorry, seed, shrub, tree. That's pretty obvious how that goes through time.
So that's the one we showed. So that's the first game.
Right.
The second game is the one where you carve the statues. Right. So that one is called, and again, this is all under the heading of That Time You Killed Me. Right. The second one is called Influence. Then the third one with the elephants is called Memory. And then once you get through all those, then you have growth and influence combined. Then you have growth and memory combined and influence and memory combined. Because you've got, again, you can make any of the combinations thereof. You've got these tons of different ways to combine the other 3 base games. And then you have the extra add-on of adding in the temporal powers, or what they're called, the achievement cards,
right?
Which makes, I mean, once you've opened those packs, because each one of them comes with a bunch of cards, like 5, 6 cards. Once you start opening them, and there's a ton of packs as you saw there, it kind of feels like the number of games you could play, because the combination of, okay, you have power A and I have power C,
right? Versus
you have power B and I have power X,
right?
Is crazy, like exponentially just huge.
Right. And I'm sure some of them are going to play better than others, some powers with different...
But we've yet to have a bad game.
But we haven't found one that's not awesome.
And I want to say, so now, when we are playing games to review them on the channel, there's not a set number of times we play a game. Different games, I feel like, require different numbers of times. There are games that we only need to play a few times. And we're like, no, we get it. Right. This game, we didn't. This game required probably more plays than any other game we have ever reviewed on the channel, because of how much depth there is.
Yeah. What we play? 10, 12? I don't know. We played
more.
We played a
just to give you an example of growth, the one we showed, we've played more than 6 games of just that,
right?
Just growth,
right?
And then like we played a bunch of each one individually.
Yep.
We played a bunch of each of the pairings, and then started getting the unlockables and started playing with a bunch of those. We played a ton of games of this. I lost count. But it wasn't just because we wanted to play a lot of games to be able to review it. It was also just because
it was so enjoyable. Yeah, it was just so much fun, and you did it's like playing a video game. You just want to keep unlocking stuff and seeing what's going to happen.
Yes.
Most board games, once you've played it to the end, the game could be enjoyable, and you could do it 100 times and still love the game.
But you
know what's going to happen.
You don't with this.
In this, you really don't know until you've played it all, and we still haven't played it all.
No, it keeps surprising you, because we're not cheating. There's still a lot of envelopes we haven't opened.
Right.
Because there's some that we haven't been able to unlock the achievements for yet.
And some of them can be like winning with 3 elephants and your opponent having none is actually kind of tough.
Yeah, it is a hard one. So I don't think we've opened that one yet.
No.
But yeah, so but there's a ton of achievement cards, and we have played with a bunch, and they've been very interesting.
Yeah.
I have no downsides. You have no downsides. You can tell we're going to be very high on this game. This is like when you said, I think your phrase "embarrassment of riches" that you said for this game. really, really succinctly sums it up. This is amazing.
Yeah.
This is one of the most generous games I think I have ever opened.
Yeah, this is like if you're going to be stuck on a deserted island,
Just bring this
bring
game.
one game. This is the one because this is months of entertainment in this one game.
Yeah, the only other thing I can think of where you have close to the amount of content that's in here, or maybe similar amount of content that's in here in one box, is the Pyramid Arcade from Looney Labs. That's like the only other thing I can think of because there's so many games.
All the different games. I get it. Right.
But that's it. That and this are like, it's literally if you have abstract games and you're gonna only have room for 2 game boxes in your collection, that and this would have ludicrous amounts of games in your collection for just those 2 games.
Yeah,
would be kind of crazy. Oh wow. Okay, is there anything we didn't talk about for That Time You Killed Me?
I mean, we didn't even talk about the production. We didn't talk about the design of the game.
Oh, we should. Yeah, maybe we should do that. The production's gorgeous. I love the plastic pieces.
Yeah, the production's good. The plastic pieces are good. Those cards are awesome.
Oh, they look great.
All the components are really nice. There's nothing like, it's not. I wouldn't say it's like high art or anything, but it's really well made.
Yes,
and they're practical, simple pieces, and they're very useful.
I'm a big fan of the cover art. This kind of almost cubist look to it. It's really cool. I really like that. This one really speaks to me. Mm-hmm. And the art on the cards is really nice, and the cards are really nice.
Yeah.
The design. So okay, we touched on a little bit earlier that this is a heavily thematic abstract strategy game, which again I thought was a contradiction in terms before playing this game.
Right.
Now I designed a game a while back that was released for a very short time, which I thought was my attempt at doing a thematic abstract game. That was Slingshot Maneuver.
Right.
I had a video on my channel. If you saw it, I was trying to make a thematic abstract game. I am jealous of Peter C. Hayward because where I did a pretty okay game that I like, I still think it's a good game, don't get me wrong, this game is way better than mine. And this is way more of a absolutely heavily thematic abstract strategy game than my design was. Like, this is objectively better than what I was able to do. Like, I wish I could have designed this.
Well, the creativity is amazing, and the theme is awesome. And the way that gameplay, it's not a theme on top of like you said, it's not a theme on top of a game. The gameplay is
it's very thematic,
dependent upon the theme to make any sense. So it's just incredibly well conceived and produced and thought out. They didn't need to do all the things they did, but they did, and it makes the game really unique. I don't know. It's a very, very unusual game. And it's so fun to play, though.
I want to reiterate something you said after our first time playing this game. So we sat down and played this game more than 6 times in a row.
Yeah.
When we first opened it. And you were talking to your wife, Sabrina, and you were telling her about this game, and you said to her, "This game broke my mind multiple times today, and I love it."
Right. It's true. Yeah, because it's just when you think you've got the it figured out, you can move on to the next module, and it changes things completely. And then you start combining those, and you have it's like a completely different game. So we can just keep going. I can keep going on and on about it.
Yeah, definitely.
I think it's pretty clear where we're going with this. So.
All right, why don't you go first on the rating? Well, first off, before we do the ratings, is there anything else we need to talk about with That Time You Killed Me, or did we pretty much cover it?
I think we got it. I think we got most of it.
Okay.
Yeah, we got what we need to know about. Yeah.
All right. How many stars out of 10?
10. There's a 10. There's a 10 game. There's one of like 5, 10 games there are, but this is it. Yeah, you agree?
10.
Yeah.
Okay, so, all right. It is rare for me to give 10 out of 10 stars. I've been having a great gaming year. I just had 2 games. There's another one. I'm not sure which one of the videos is going to be out first. But I just had another one I reviewed that I gave 10 out of 10. I haven't, before these last few weeks, I have not had a 10-star game in like over a year and a half, 2 years. And now I had 2 really close to each other. You'll have to check out some of the other videos to figure out which is the other 10-star game. But yeah, this is 10 out of 10. This is my new favorite abstract strategy game of all time.
Yes.
Which actually, pun included. All time. That time you killed me.
Yeah. If you buy one game this year, there should be it. It's in my opinion, it's fantastic.
It's so good.
It gets everything right. It's for as in depth and as fun and as complicated and as like magnetic that it is. It takes a half an hour to play.
It's great.
And it's awesome. It's unbelievable. So yeah.
Well, I don't think it's possible for us to express exactly how much we've enjoyed playing this game. The 10 out of 10 is the best we could do. I would go higher if the scale went higher. That's how much we love this game. Really fantastic. I have no downsides. You had no downsides.
Nope.
If you have any questions, comments, or concerns on That Time You Kill Me, feel free to put them in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed this review and tutorial of a board game and you'd like to see us do more like it, be sure to give it a like. Share it on all forms of social media. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to the Board Game Captain. That's Kaptain spelled with a K on YouTube. And until next time, game on.